and so forth. That takes care of the situation that has been allowed to evolve over the years. And at least you've had plenty of warning, even though you thought you would never be turned in by your neighbor. But the other side of it that really bothers me about this is we are responding to what are essentially random events. You are. Because you have no idea, at least I don't know what else you could possibly be getting information from, but it's a random process. Somebody moves in next door, they look over, they don't like the fact you have 3 trucks in your yard. It's in violation. They call it in. That person's going to have to find out something to do with the 3rd truck. Somebody else is collecting beer bottles, hanging them in his front porch. And in Mendocino, that becomes an art village of Mendocino. They throw in a few other pieces of junk and it becomes a mobile. But the reality here in this particular case is if somebody calls in and complains, it's simply the luck of the draw. It's bad for you, but we can't do anything about it. You do have something here that your neighbor doesn't like, and I'll be damned if I'm going to move it, I say. You say, well, you're in trouble. And we start down this, and I'm so mad I'm not even paying attention to what you're saying to me because I don't think you should be on my property in the first place. I know you run into this stuff all the time, probably. But the reality in this situation is I think we need to have a system where we would say the same way we would on in other parts of the county, we are going to be working this quadrant. Do it randomly. We are going to clean up this quadrant. If you're in that quadrant, guess what? We're going to be coming through and we're going through everybody that's in a situation where we think there may be problems or where we see something leaking down the hill or we see something up on the ridge that looks like something that would be a violation or whatever, or anything that is visible from a state or county road. But some standard where we have some equity in this so that we don't have certain areas where it's just allowed. We have other areas where it is in fact over-concentrated. I'm speaking here in defense of the 5th District and people in the 5th District who have met the kind of enforcement that I support, just so you understand that. I support your work and I know you're good at it. But the other side of it is, what does bother me about it is the work you're doing begins with a complaint. And I don't think, if we had other policies that began with a complaint and kicked in all these other things, because one citizen filed a complaint, okay? You can come there and say, you know, this looks bad for you, whatever, but that doesn't mean that you, the enforcement officer, necessarily need to go forward with an abatement process. And I guess really we need to have some sort of structure that tells us when to go forward on the complaint and when not to. But what about the guy across the street about whom nobody has complained? You go after that person as well. In other words, everybody on Ridge Road number 7, guess what? There was a complaint. Because then what will happen is you'll have everybody knowing who the snitch is, and people will not like it. But that at least allows the community to say there are things we permit and things we don't permit, and we don't need government interference with the way we live in this neighborhood or on this ridge. And I go through enough neighborhoods as I come in from Boonville every day to get to here. And there are a lot of places where I could be a snitch. Anybody could be out there being a snitch. But what good does it do if it's just simply me who had a bad day and decides that I'm going to get even? I'm going to just reach out there and kick somebody in the teeth just because my day's been bad. And some of this has that tone to it when it's seen by the person who has been kicked in the teeth by a neighbor, by an official, by anybody who's out there who doesn't like how I live or what I do or what my economic status is or how old I am or what color I am or whatever. So I'm just throwing that out because I think we have a real problem. You've laid it out really well. But I'm in kind of the awkward position of saying, wait a minute, why are you going after Mrs. So-and-so? And I've done this with you. Why are you going after Mrs. So-and-so? Yeah, it's kind of junky there, but, everybody's kind of junky there. Why there? Out in the hills of the South Coast. And you say, well, look, are you going to enforce you could say, are you going to enforce the ordinance? Or are you not? And I'm saying, damn it, I'll enforce it. I'm all for enforcement. But doggone it, not based on kind of a random thing. And if we were even going to say, we'll just stick pins, if we were going to dartboard the whole process, it would be fairer than operating on the basis of complaints. It would be fairer because it would at least be genuinely random rather than arbitrary. I shouldn't be using the word random. It's an arbitrary system because it depends on complaints, depends on who's out there looking at what you have out there. So anyhow, with that, I'm raising, I think, some questions that I feel need to be addressed by the Board of Supervisors, not by you. You have your job to do, and again, I appreciate the job you've been doing, the people who are backing you up on this. But for people to be coming in here now and saying, we're going to lose our land because we have this much, or we're going to lose our house because we have this much investment, this much of a debt that you've created.